you're struggling to break through to your man's heart right now, if you're going through a difficult time in your relationship, then these 4 steps are going to play a pivotal role in being able to develop that connection between the two of you. Now, before we dive in, just make sure you hit that subscribe button below and click on that bell notification as well. So every week you get access to my latest videos where I'll talk you through a little bit more about what you can do to go about saving your marriage, what you can do to develop a deeper connection with your man, and really create a profound level of healing, because I've always believed that for a relationship to truly grow, we have to make sure that we're growing within ourselves. Now, it's important to note that men come in different forms, with different experiences, with different beliefs, with different upbringings, and so on. So what works well for one person may not have the same impact for another. But what I'm really focused on here is helping women who have, are dealing with good men. Men who have some good qualities, good values, who at the deepest level mean well. Because a lot of the negative behaviors that we might see with both men and women are often a product of their upbringing or different traumatic experiences that they've had over the years. So these steps I'm going to walk you through right now, really want you to pay attention to them and ensure that you begin to apply them and observe the reactions that you start getting, and then make the necessary tweaks that you need to in order to have the greatest impact that you possibly can on him and create the deepest connection that you two can possibly create. Now, the first step towards truly melting his heart is to recognize his needs. Now, some of you might be saying, well, but he never meets my needs. Why should I do that? The reality is that for a relationship to flourish, we have to be selfless in our approach. We have to give beyond ourselves. Now, we've got to remember, though, that if we are really empty on the inside and have no energy, no vibrancy, no love on the inside, then giving and giving and giving is going to be coming from an empty place and isn't going to have the same kind of impact, and it's only going to deplete you of more energy. We want to make sure that you're filling yourself up. But as you're doing that, if you can make the effort to truly understand this man's needs, what is it that drives him? What is it that motivates him? What is it that he truly needs at the deepest level? Does he love to feel respected and special and unique and so on? Are there, things that he just loves hearing from you? Does he want to hear compliments from you about the things that he's doing at work? Does he want to talk about work because, talking about it really lights him up a lot? Does he want to feel really successful and is progressing in his career or making money or whatever? Is that really important to him? Really go deep to understanding his world without judgment. Really understand his world, because the more that you take the time to understand his world, then what happens is you begin to know him better than anyone possibly could. And as you do that, that's only going to deepen the connection between the two of you. And it's also going to probably ensure that there's some level of reciprocation as well. Now, I know sometimes the feeling is like, once again, why should I have to do all these things when he's not doing these things? But remember, we're talking about good men here. And when we're creating the right environment for them, they're going to want to reciprocate. They're going to want to do more things for you. They're going to want to create an environment where you feel loved and you feel supported and so on. And also, how does he want love? Some of you may be familiar with the 5 love languages. When we talk about gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, and quality time. If we're looking at all of those things, what is it that he loves the most? And how can I go about meeting some of those needs? The truth is that what truly brings us joy in life is when we're giving beyond ourselves. Where we get caught up is when it becomes a trade. It's like, I'll give to you if you give to me a little bit. And so most couples operate like this. And when it's a trade, then people's needs aren't being met because one person's not actually taking the lead often. And they're only giving just as much as they think they're getting, which kind of goes against the whole idea of what love is. Love is about giving. Love is about caring for others. And we want to do that. And we also have to love ourselves and fill that bucket up as well, without any shadow of a doubt. So if you are feeling empty, I suggest you work more on yourself initially and fill yourself up. And then you can start serving at that deeper level towards him. But on the proviso that you're feeling fairly full on the inside, you can really start to make an effort to really get to know your husband's needs at the deepest level. And as you do that, then things will naturally progress in a much more beautiful way. Now, the second step towards melting a man's heart is knowing when to be direct. You see, sometimes in relationships, I notice that the woman might be quite submissive and, being a little bit afraid to speak her truth and speak her mind and so on. But I think it's actually really important to do that. Some of the greatest times and the greatest connection points that I've had with my wife in the past is when she's actually been quite direct with me at different stages. Maybe if I was going through a bit of a rough patch or a difficult time in my life and I was maybe getting into some negative thought patterns, occasionally when the time was right, she would step in and actually talk to me in fairly direct terms. Look, honey, you've got these amazing things. You've done all these incredible things. You're such a special human being. You need to get yourself out of this, or whatever it may be. And there were some special shifts that occurred within me as a result of some of her communication with me. It was so powerful. And I've even noticed this with many clients over the years as well. I remember one client a few years ago whose husband, was acting in some pretty poor ways and wasn't really making an effort, wasn't really connecting much. And she actually, in a very firm way, just said, look, honey, I love you, I care for you, but listen, you need to step up here, you need to start making effort towards this marriage, because if you're not, then I need to make sure that I start setting a pathway for the future, because I'm not just going to sit around and just wait and wait and wait and wait. I need to tell you this and be honest with you on this one. And that was a huge turning point for them as a couple as well. So it was actually really important to recognize that there is a time and a place for being really, really direct in certain situations. And I know that sometimes the idea of that can be a little bit scary because we're worried about what the other person is going to think and how they're going to react towards us. But if you can, pick the right time, and if you are needing some support on this journey and trying to pick those right moments, then, my program might be a good fit for you and help you to provide you with the clarity and the certainty that you're looking for. So you can book a call with me below in the description section. So really take the time to analyze your situation, understand what's working, what hasn't worked, when do you find that you're able to get across to him the message that you're trying to get across, when does he respond well, when doesn't he respond well, and so on. Observe things. You know your husband really, really well. There might be some deeper aspects of him that you're trying to figure out, but you actually know him quite well. So understand the patterns that you guys have gotten into, and that way you can start to move forward and once again create the deepest connection. Because I can tell you right now, sometimes when a man is spoken directly to on occasions, it can be really, really powerful, on the proviso that the intention is with love, with care, with compassion, and with the genuine interest of that person. Now, the third thing that makes a man melt is just random acts of kindness. Little gestures from time to time that he likes is really, really special. Now, the mistake that a lot of people make here is that they'll often give things based on what they think they would like, rather than what that person actually likes. So, for example, it might be, there might be a little card or a little note left. Now, that might sound lovely for you because those things make you melt, but that sort of thing may not really matter to him. He may not be really interested in that stuff. What might make him melt might be that he comes home and, his favorite meal is there ready for him because he loves that meal and he just feels like he's been taken care of and served and looked after and so on. Or maybe there's just been a lot of time with kids and so on, hasn't had a lot of time for himself. Maybe you might say, look, hun, you go out and hang out with your mates. I've got it. I'll take care of the kids. You go off and do your thing. Have an amazing day. And that might lift him up and fill him up. And then as a result of that, there's a good chance that he's going to want to reciprocate those things. He's going to want to do those things for you. And if you're finding that he's not, then that might be where you might want to have a conversation with him and just say, look, hun, this is some of the things that I'm needing at the moment. And, I'd love it if you could, just help out with the kids here on this particular day when I go off and hang out with my mates or whatever. And there's a good chance he's going to want to do that because the connection that he's building with you by virtue of some of these things that are occurring is deepening and allowing you guys to build this special bond. And when you do that, when you have that special bond with each other, there's nothing you won't do for each other. That's the magnificent thing about building these deeper connections between the two of you. So really start to work on those little random acts of kindness and getting a feel for the sort of things that he actually really likes. Now the final step here is empathy without judgment. See, a lot of the time men are, wanting things in their life, but they feel really afraid to be able to express those things because on some level they're judging themselves for it. Now, let me give you an example. Earlier this week I was speaking to a male client of mine, and he's basically in a situation where he's doing a lot of amazing work with his wife. They're making some huge progress. I mean, incredible progress in the last few weeks. It's been beautiful to see. But one of the things that he really wants is his wife to sometimes make his lunch, sometimes make some food for him and things like that. Those are things that are important for him. Now we can sit there and we can judge. And we can say, look, that's kind of, come on man, like really? You're wanting that? But if we also take an empathetic approach, we can look at it and say, well, he was brought up in an environment where his mum did lots of things for him. His family used to do a lot of things for him. They were cook for him and clean and do all those sort of things. So that's the environment that he's been brought up in. And so when we are shaped by our environment, then that ultimately is what drives us in terms of our needs in any moment in time. And we can progress and we can evolve and we can grow. I mean, I grew up in an environment where my mum used to do everything for me as well, but I had to develop over time. Couldn't just expect people to do things for me. I had to learn to be independent. I had to learn those skill sets and so on. So that's important. But my point is that we need to learn to take an empathetic approach in life as well. Just because we don't agree with where someone is at doesn't mean we have to judge them and say what you're thinking is wrong. Because I can promise you that all of us, every single person on this planet, has some deeper shadow, darker beliefs that they hold on to in different areas of their lives. What we need to do is take a bit more of a compassionate and empathetic approach rather than judging it. And if we can create a safe environment within the relationship where he can talk about some of the things that is going on in his mind or the things that are important to him, and you can listen without judgment, but more about from a curious place where like, okay, can you tell me a little bit more about, or oh, it's interesting, why is it that you want that so much? Is it something that you believe is really important in the relationship? Or you might even say, look, hun, I want to do those things, I'm just struggling to find the time to do those things. Can we maybe come to some sort of a compromise here, or some things that might work well for both of us to help us to be able to create the best environment for us and to help each other meet our needs and so on. And I think when we can start to have conversations like that, it can really help things to move forward and help things to progress in terms of deepening the connection between the two of you. But if it's, geez, are you kidding me? You want me to cook for you all the time? You want me to do all these things for you? What am I, your mother? Piss off, I'm not going to do those things. And we come at it from a judgmental place, or a feeling of just being used on some level, then what ends up happening is we get triggered and we get frustrated. The other person will shut down, won't know how to express those things, and then before you know it, the division starts to occur. Now, just to be clear, I'm not siding with anyone here. Regardless of what each person needs, we have to understand those perspectives. We've got to make more of an effort to do that, and I'm just a big one when it comes to compassion, to having empathy, and to really understand the deeper drivers behind one's psychology. Because if we come in there from a place of judgment all the time, then it's only going to result in friction and problems and issues in the long run, and a good chance of a divorce or a separation occurring at some point without any shadow of a doubt. So if you are struggling with that, if you are feeling like, look, I'm struggling to really make some progress on that, or find that compassion, I find myself getting angry if he wants these things and so on, that's cool. That's a good place to be sometimes, where you're questioning things, because sometimes there is a bit of a fine line between someone who's wounded but has good intentions versus someone who is just trying to use you and take advantage of you. And we've got to understand those differences, because I don't want anyone to be used or abused or anything like that in their current marriage or relationship. So we need to understand those differences. So if you are trying to figure that out, trying to work through some of those challenges on the inside, then what I'd encourage you to do is in the description section below, just click on that link which says book a call with me. Just click on that link, choose a time that works for you, and then I'll contact you at that scheduled time, just so I can learn a little bit more about your circumstances, your situation, kind of person that you're with, and just to see if there's any way that I could possibly help you on this path. You know, doing deep inner healing is such an important part of our journey as human beings. So, you know, once again, if it feels right for you, if you connect with my videos, then just click on that link, choose a time that works for you, and then I'll speak to you, and I can't wait to be of service to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, make sure you hit that like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And do let me know what your biggest takeaway is, or if you have any questions or comments or anything like that. I always love reading them, and I'll make sure to respond to every single one of you. And if you want to learn 4 feminine behaviors that men find wildly attractive, click this video above. Thank you so much. God bless, and I'll talk to you in the next video.